Yep, Alan's right here too.
Okay, great.
And there we go.
Okay,
Jim is,
so we've got Todd, we have John, Fred, Chris, Frank, Josh, Linda, Jim, okay. Aiden, great. Alan, good, okay. All right, so I think we have everyone that we're expecting. Okay, great. Good afternoon. Welcome to our August EDC meeting. We seem to be catching each month by the last day lately. I hope everyone's doing well and have found some time to slip away and enjoy the summer. We have a lot to discuss where we're trying to get ourselves jumpstart after our our slowdown this spring. So I just want to welcome everyone. I guess we'll start by approving the July 30th minutes. Would someone like to make a motion? I think everyone has received the minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the July 30th minutes.
Second.
Fred, were you?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Anyone? Okay.
I was not present, so I'll put down as an abstain.
Okay.
Same with me, Bonnie.
Okay.
Bonnie, just a reminder, it needs to be a roll call vote when we're doing it remotely.
Okay, so we have to go through each person. Do you want to do that then?
Sure, the way we usually do it is just go through by, I'll go through by how I see names on my participant list.
Okay.
So Bonnie, why don't you start?
Bonnie, yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Josh?
Abstain.
Linda?
Abstain.
Chris? Chris?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And who am I missing? John?
Abstain.
Okay.
Am I missing?
Kim, this is Todd. I vote yes as well.
Sorry, you're the last name on my list.
Problem.
Okay, great. So from there, Linda, I'm sorry, Kim, are we all set?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. So moved. Okay, great. So we will move right on schedule to welcoming Sujatha Krishnan from the VIA van service. And I'll pass to Jim Robbins, who invited you as our guest today.
Sure. Thank you, Bonnie. I don't know if Sujatha's on the call. I don't see her. It doesn't mean she's not there, but I don't see her at this point. However, we do have Dennis Lipka from the Worcester Regional Transit Authority, who's joining us today, and as well as Fred from VIA, joining us remotely to talk about the new service that will be replacing the Westboro Shuttle, which was formerly a WRTA van, as you know, that carried passengers on a fixed route. The VIA service is a demand responsive vehicle, much the same as an Uber or a Lyft ride. This is, we're very excited to have this because, as you know, Westboro over the years, though not in the last 2 years, and certainly not since COVID, prior to that, we had some of the highest ridership outside of the Worcester area through the RTA shuttle service. So with the shuttle service no longer being available to us, we're grateful that the VIA service is going to have a demonstration here in Westboro. Hopefully it will be very successful and become a permanent service. So that said, I'm going to introduce Dennis Lipka from the WRTA. Dennis is the executive director.
Well, thank you very much for having us at this meeting this afternoon. And I know you've got a busy agenda, so we're going to try to stay tight to our schedule. This project has been in the planning stages for almost a year. About a year ago, we met VIA for the first time, an on-demand specialized transportation network provider that has been in the business for a while and has operated not only in the United States, but in Europe, I think the Southeast, in Asia, and in, I think, Central America. I think I'm not going to, I cover all the areas. I'll leave that to Frank's description. But the exciting part of the VIA program is that it does what transportation has struggled to do but hasn't been able to, and that is keep people in the vehicle at all times. And that is they find where people live, take them to where they want to go, and move from that point to collect other people and take them to other destinations. So it's a much more vibrant and flexible transportation network than we've been accustomed to in the United States. Congressman McGovern had experience with the VIA system in Washington, D.C., and was so impressed that he set up the meeting with us to talk with VIA. And again, it was a process of finding a good match. At the state level and to some extent federal level, funds are being made available to help people get the first mile, last mile service in, but more importantly, to get from where they live to where they work when they need to go. And we set up the original VIA project for Westboro because it was a very reasonably constrained boundary with lots of points of interest and essentially two connections to the MBTA commuter rail in Westboro itself and in Southboro. To that end, we put together several grant applications and were successful. We've gotten the largest grant application issued by Mass DOT for innovation in transportation for this grant, and we've managed to cobble together some CMAQ money to go along with that. So although on-demand typically is an expensive transportation option, I think we've got funding in place to see if we can break into the suburban network and find the right mix of transit offerings, points of interest, and hopefully ridership to make these resources worthwhile. Sujatha cannot join us today, but Central Mass Regional Planning was involved in this process and is currently looking at TMA networks all along the central corridor, the Route 9 Turnpike corridor. And this is really going to be one of the most innovative programs along that stretch. Today with us is Frank Stevens, who's the program coordinator for VIA on the startup of this. And I want to let him talk about this program in detail with the areas we're going to cover and the vehicles. But I would say that the kickoff for this is scheduled for September 22nd. And that we'll be doing it with 4 vehicles, and one of the vehicles will be a completely wheelchair accessible. So we're hoping that we're going to provide all of the service needs that people have going forward. And again, it's focused on Westboro proper. Now, with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Frank, who's got a small PowerPoint presentation with some of the graphics that'll help you to see how we're going to implement this program. Frank?
Yes, thanks, Dennis, for introducing me, and thanks, Jim, for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Frank. I work on VIA's expansion team, which means that I'm currently working with the WRTA in designing the service and actually launching the service, as Dennis said, on September 22nd. And I have indeed a few slides, but I am not a host. I just sent it to Kim Foster. I'm not sure if she can either make me a host or share her screen if she's received my email. Otherwise, I'll just talk it over. That's no problem.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Great. I'll just get started and you can just interrupt me at any point. There's no problem. I'll try to keep it short. I usually want to give a quick VIA introduction because I expect not everybody is familiar with the VIA company, and that I hope to take some confusion away on what VIA is or what we do. You can see I'm a host now. Thank you, Kim. So please let me know once you can see my screen.
We're up, Frank.
Perfect. So VIA is a technology company that works with partnerships with mostly cities or transit operators, and we're doing that across the globe. As you can see, we currently have more than 100 partnerships in 20 plus countries. And why I would always like to show this page and also the next one is I basically want to tell everybody we are very flexible when it comes to our partnerships. Basically, no two services that you can see on this map are the same. And these include mega cities like New York City or Tokyo, but also very small places like Timaru, which is a small town in New Zealand. And we basically partner up and we want to make sure that we are configuring and being flexible to the partner's need. And that's not just in size, but also on what we're actually providing as a service. So we have fully integrated, I think, almost every aspect of public mobility, you could say. For instance, on-demand public transit, which we'll talk a bit more because that's what we're going to do in Westboro. But we're also active in fixed route public transport, where scheduling and capacity management is a bit more important. School buses, corporate, university or airport shuttles are an example, but also paratransit to have accessible transport and healthcare transport. And something I'm also very excited about is integrated mobility. So that's basically a multi-modal trip planning. And what we mean by that is in these services, you can book book a ride where you want to go from A to B, and maybe that's very far away. And the best option is actually that you take a train. But for the last part, you can order a VIA ride to actually reach your final destination. And that can then all be done in one app where you can see all the information, and also the payments and ticketing will be fully integrated into one app. So these are a bit the different zones we're working on. This algorithm that we use, as I said, different services, small scale and large scale, but it comes down to do three things. We have vehicles on the road and we have customers booking a ride. And what we basically try to do is we want to pair riders that are traveling along the same path. So if we have multiple people going into a similar direction, we will automatically and dynamically route the vehicle to pick up these riders. So if you have someone from A to B, we are looking for the vehicle that is not only the closest vehicle to that person's location, but it already has a route that is going in a similar direction as where this rider wants to go. What we then do is we will ask the customer to walk a couple of meters up to a couple of hundred meters to walk to a virtual bus stop, which is dynamically allocated and can change every time. Or we will ask the vehicle to change its route and take a small detour so we can pick up this rider. And the amount of walking we ask these riders to do to these virtual bus stops, or the amount of detours we'll let a vehicle make, are completely configurable. And what we try to do here is basically hit a sweet spot where for the rider's experience, it's almost like taking a taxi, or what Jim said, an Uber or a Lyft ride. You, as a customer, are the one who decides when you want to have a ride and where you want to have a ride, but we want to be as efficient as public transport with a bus. So we want to share as much people in a specific vehicle while keeping the rider experience as good as possible regarding wait times, pickup locations. That's where it eventually comes down to. Then a bit more about the VIA WRTA service. As Dennis already said, we will be starting the service on September 22nd in Westboro. On the right-hand side, you can see the exact service zone with some points of interest. These points of interest will be shown on the map when a rider opens the app, so it's easy to know what is included in the service zone and what's not. And it's also easy to basically select these points of interest as an address with only one click on the app. As a summary, we're basically wanting to set up a microtransit service to help increase the mobility within Westboro, not just so that people can go around if they need to do shopping or if they want to go to a senior center, but also the commuters who relied on the commuter shuttle, for instance, if they reach the Westboro, Southboro MBTA station, but that's not the end of their location, that's not the end of their trip. We want them to be able to use this service and very easily reach their destination so they don't have to use a private vehicle after taking a train. So the main goal is to provide reliable, affordable, and accessible public transit in Westboro. including commuting transport from the MBTA stations. I think also Dennis said this, we will start with 4 vehicles, including 1 wheelchair accessible vehicle, and the service will operate from Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think what's good to mention here is that everything I'm saying now is pretty much configurable, and we're doing everything with the guidance of the WRTA. So if at some point we have some data coming in regarding requests from certain people, or we receive feedback from customers, it's very easy to make changes. For instance, if we think it's a good idea to also have the service up and running in the weekend, it doesn't have to take us weeks to change this. We can hopefully do that in a couple of days. The same goes for the hours, the number of hours or the exact hours, the number of vehicles for the service area. We can make it bigger or smaller upon request. It's basically a very flexible system where it doesn't take a lot of work to make any changes. A bit on the service details. Within the service zone, people will be asked when they book a ride to select a pickup address and a drop-off address. It's pretty intuitive once you open the app, and then all rides will be $2, with rides from or to the MBTA ranges priced at $1. Vehicles will have a limited capacity to ensure social distancing. So once this global pandemic we're in, and that changes, again, this is very easy configurable, and we can have up to 6 people in these vehicles. But now with social distancing, we want to limit that to 2 or 3 persons. And as I said, we will have 1 wheelchair accessible vehicle in the fleet. My last slide, during launch, which is on September 22nd, we are aware that this is a new service and it will take some adjustment to a lot of people. And because we are in these COVID times, it might be a bit scary even to book a ride with a service you don't know or drivers you don't know. And especially if you can share a ride, although that is limited as said, it can be a bit scary. So to give this a nice welcome introduction, we will have the first month of this service for free for all riders. So everybody can book rides with no cost associated. We will have an online campaign. Both the WRTA and VIA will post this new service on their social media accounts. We're going to do an outreach to local entrepreneurs and shops offering printed marketing material or online material. And after the first initial month of this service, where the rides are for free, riders can basically refer each other via the VIA app. That's very easy. You can send a link saying, I'm using VIA WRTA. You should do that too via WhatsApp, email, or Facebook. And then when people refer each other, they can earn free rides credit, so they can take some additional free rides. That was my very quick introduction of VIA and the VIA WRTA service in Westboro. If we have time, and if people have questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you, Frank. I think, as you pointed out, it's certainly going to take people time, given the environment we're operating in, and that it's while everyone is familiar with Ubers, this concept is something entirely new. So, but I think it's promising, and we're looking forward to it. So, thank you very much.
I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. So,
Okay.
This is, I think, really exciting. And even though we are still in the midst of COVID-19, having that first month free, I think, gives us a great opportunity to promote and boost ridership and sort of set the expectation that this is, as it will be, a great service for the town. On the map of points of interest, I guess my questions there, is that map final, or are we still considering other points of interest? I think it might be helpful to identify the 2 other large shopping plazas, in addition to Bay State Commons, as well as maybe some of the hotels and some of the office parks, so that folks can say, oh, I've got a dentist appointment, let me take the VIA for my office to the dentist appointment or something, and get a feel for that. And then my other question really goes down to, understanding that the WRTA on their online accounts will be doing a marketing campaign. What's appropriate for us to do as an EDC and as a town, even before September 22nd, to sort of say, hey, this is coming, and educate people on what it's going to be, and then announce the launch and really for that first month promote it.
Thanks, Alan. I think I can take the first question on the POIs, the points of interest, and I will let Dennis answer the second question. On the points of interest, just to be clear, I had to run through it a little bit fast, but you can select an address anywhere in the zone, either by dropping a pin or by inserting the address in a search bar, so you can still go to the dentist or to an office location. It's not limited to these points of interest. It's fully dynamic, so we can use every address as a location. These points of interest are just basically highlights flashing up on the app. That said, we can edit it, but for the launch on September 22nd, the map is final. After we have launched this, we can always edit it. It's just that our technical team is working very hard to have everything ready and everything up and running and working for the September 22nd. And we don't want to have too many points of interest. The service zone is not that big. And then if you zoom out a little bit and you would have 20 points of interest, for instance, the only thing you would see are the points of interest and their names instead of the actual map. So we try to limit it, but feedback on additions are always welcome. We actually kept it quite, the number of points of interest, we kept the number a bit lower because we were expecting some additional feedback. So we're happy to take a look and to include others, but that would be after the September 27th.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, in terms of outreach, I think the original project started out as primarily a way to get people to and from work, and that, thanks to the pandemic, has really changed the world remarkably. But I think the idea is some people still have to get to some location. Medical people, dental hygienists, all those, there are tons and tons of people in the market that physically need to be at a location to get their job done where remote work is not possible. And this gives them another option. Just to, I guess, a point of interest is for the first time during the pandemic, our fixed route service reached 6,000 rides a day last Friday. We have been coming up from a real low in March and April of several thousand, like 2,900, 2,800 rides a day. We're now averaging somewhere in the range of 4,900 rides a day. So transportation is coming back, people are coming back, and we're moving 20 to as many as 22 people on a 40-foot bus a day with masks and the enhanced cleaning procedures that we've used. VIA has adopted the WRTA cleaning protocols, and so that the vehicles will be as safe as we can possibly make them, not only for the passengers, but for the drivers, because the drivers are critical in this system to make this system reliable and functional. We are hoping that we're going to, I think, be at the Board of Selectmen meeting with this presentation for 15 minutes. I think if we could give our 15-minute talk there, that would be terrific. And then the next, I think we're going to have Jim work with us and help us reach out to the Metro West Chamber and the Corridor 9 Chamber, so we can get people in the Westboro stretch of those organizations to realize that this is coming, and we're hoping employers may help us embrace this program to get their employees to work in an effective, efficient way, and hopefully in a way that begins heading toward public transit and all the benefits that provides relative to emissions and traffic congestion.
Excellent.
If I could add a little more information, and thank you, Dennis and Frank, for doing such a good job letting us know about this in this presentation. I think this will be great for the Board of Selectmen. And Christy and I discussed this with Frank and Dennis last week, and we talked about meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, and I intend to reach out to the Corridor 9 Chamber, reach out to Karen, get us scheduled on their Economic Development Subcommittee meeting so that we can promote that service to our businesses in the region, particularly for the retailers, so they will know that there's a way to get their employees to work, and so they know that people can find them if they're going to be open. they can still get a ride to the grocery store. They can still get a ride to the hair salons, which are open now, the nail salons, things like that. But I think really importantly, what this group can do is to promote it on our website, on our webpage, to promote this service. And Dennis, if I could ask you to get us a link, if you and Frank put together this presentation in sort of a formalized format, if I were sitting at home, could I view it?
Sure.
That would be really good, particularly the route, what number I call or what I text or what I email, go online to the web page, how much it might cost. Simple things like that, the route, access, fee.
We're in the development. We've actually been working on that for a while, but we're very close to final documents. So when we get those, and everything is going to be not only print media, but obviously electronic, we will get all that information to you. And hopefully with it, yeah, we have 3 meetings a week with VIA, one on logistics and operation, one on marketing, and then there's the finance and operational team that keeps everybody in line and trying to moving at the same pace. I would point out to you that in transit, to get something, we signed the contract with Mass DOT for this literally less than 30 days ago. And that was the green light to get this project up and running. So for transit to move this quickly, to acquire vehicles, secure drivers, train them, develop the map. We had the map already, but to refine the map, produce all the marketing, get the vehicles wrapped, get them purchased and ready to go. This is for transit, this is light speed. So, and I've got to tell you, working with VIA, we at the gate, when we started looking at things, we added the Northborough Commons on the far westerly section of the route because it is so close to where you guys are, and we figured there'd be a lot of people looking at that destination. We're in the process of reaching out to the MBTA to see if to help us out by posting at the train stations, but those are relatively quiet these days. So, but I think the MBTA has already said to us they're interested in seeing how this goes because they are very interested in it for other communities where they have congestion around transit stations. So we're at the beginning edge here. It's like being at Kitty Hawk a long time ago. And this is going to be, I think, a very successful program for Westboro and provide your residents with a great ride for a great price.
And one other thing that we had talked about for this group's information is we had talked about having a link on the town webpage. Also letting anybody know about this, not just the EDC website, but the town webpage, and having paper handouts that we could have, say, at the town clerk or the public library for those that prefer something they can hold in their hand. Also, in the past, you may recall for the WRTA kickoff, when the Westboro Shuttle kicked off, this group actually met the shuttle at the train station. I don't know if you remember that morning, Bonnie might. It was rain. Remember the ice storm? That was quite a morning. I don't see any ice storms in the future for the first week, third week in September. So maybe we could do something like that. And Alan representing the Board of Selectmen or some other representative. Well, I think with the EDC would be very important to have a photo hit and maybe even something on Westboro TV to say the service is kicked off.
Well, we've already gotten the budget of production of a video, a 2-minute video that we will hope to have available to your video system, your TV station, so that they can actually run the 2-minute video, which will give you a thumbnail about how the system operates, where it can take you, and what the cost will be. And I think our target is to have about a 2 to 3 minute video. So on all the highlights and with the references to the web page. All the handouts have QR codes. So even if somebody takes the QR code and sees it, they can copy it into their phone and get it right onto the VIA app. And I got to tell you, this is a VIA app. It's independent of the WRTA. They're providing the customer service and they control the information network so that they can respond as quickly as possible to how people need to, when they need to get around and where they need to go.
Great. Thank you, Dennis and Frank. We appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to working with you.
Well, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate this very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Dennis. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
You're welcome
good
to
day.
continue to stay with us, or certainly carry on with your day. So,
Well, listen, I hate to say it, but we are slightly overscheduled here.
okay, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's not the first time this happens.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
having us.
Great.
Frank, would you
Bye-bye.
just send the
Jim, we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
Yeah,
Oh, and
bye-bye.
Dennis, we,
Yep.
while I got Chris Payne, the DPW director here on this call, and we met this morning about the location for the buses. They will be adjacent to 131 Oak Street, which is
Okay.
where the Department of Public Works main yard is. So for your drivers and for your information, when you come down Oak Street off of 135, the courthouse is the first building on the right. You continue up Oak Street. At the top of the hill, at the crest of the hill, is the school bus parking lot. It's the next driveway on the left-hand side from the school bus parking lot. There's a utility pole at the entrance.
All right, super. Thank you very much.
Frank, will you just send the host back to me if you don't mind?
Yeah, would that happen if I automatically end or drop out of the call?
I think when you log out, it may.
Yes, okay. I think that must happen. Must one to Alan. And I work for a technology company in a pandemic time, and I still didn't figure out Zoom. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.